So, welcome everyone to our first live of Activities for Multilingual Families, a channel where we share hands-on activities and games to help multilingual families foster their languages with their children of all ages and levels of fluency. As we are all preparing, hopefully, to spend holidays with our children, families, and friends, and hopefully have also the opportunity to dive into our home languages a bit more than usual, we thought to share a few ideas and invite you to share yours with us about how to foster our languages during holidays. Now, we are aware that not everyone can spend time in the countries where our home languages are spoken, but this doesn't mean that we can't make the best of a bit more time to enjoy our languages. We will be sharing some ideas proceeding by the age group of our children. Annelisa's daughter is 2 years old and 2 months, I think.
Yes.
Yoshito's sons are, I think, 9 and 7. He will
Yeah,
tell you more.
yes, 9 and 7, yeah.
Yes, and my children are 19 and 16 and 16 years old. So before we dive in, just a very quick remark. If you are following us live, please participate in the chat through the comments section, and we'll talk to you live through the chat. And if you are watching the recordings, please do the same. We'll continue the conversation in the comments on YouTube. So with no further ado, let's just dive into the topic of today. So please, Annalisa, share with us how you are planning to foster your home languages during these holidays that are coming up.
Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here today. If you don't know me, I'm Annelisa. I'm from Brazil, and I live in Belgium. My daughter is 2 years old, and she was born here in Belgium during the first lockdown. So she has never met her Brazilian family, and I'm the only source of Portuguese in her life. For us, this summer is going to be very special because it's the first time she's going to meet my family, that she's going to spend some time with my family. Uh, and the first time that she will live somewhere and with other people who speak Portuguese as well. And there she's going to experience and see things that you can only see there and learn the words, the names for these things. So I think her vocabulary will just soar when we are there. We are going to spend 4 weeks, and we don't have any special plans besides just spending time with family. I think everyone speaks in a different way, right? She's going to hear all the accents that she never gets to hear. She's going to see me talking to other people more. She has started to realize that I'm not the only one who speaks this language. She can already differentiate. She knows that dad says things in a way and mom says things in another way. But she doesn't see many other Portuguese speakers. So I think she's going to start realizing, more people speak this language too, and I can communicate with them. So it's going to be a very special time. We are going to make sure that two things happen to really encourage her to speak more and to use the language and to really immerse herself in the language and to give that boost of vocabulary and confidence. We're going to buy books, buy games there. If you live abroad, you know it's not always easy to find books in our home languages. So when we're there, we're going to take this opportunity and stock up. And while we're there, we're also going to play those games and read those books with her. I'm going to encourage my siblings, my cousins, my parents to interact with her like that. And I'm also going to see my own friends who have children her age or older or younger. So I'm going to try and make sure that some play dates happen for some, not only for for my own enjoyment, but for her opportunity to play and to communicate with other children who are Brazilian like her, so that she.
Can I ask you just a question? Like,
Sure.
generally, what language does she speak with other children?
it depends on the context. I think she goes to daycare. She has a cousin here in Belgium, so she uses
Ah,
Dutch.
yeah.
Um, we have a small Brazilian group here, and we started meeting. We started a play group this year, and we have met a few times. And there she's still a bit shy, but she sees that everyone is talking in Portuguese, so she talks mostly to me and sometimes to other children also in Portuguese. So she's just beginning to have that realization and
Because
differentiate the languages. Yeah.
Yeah.
it reminds me when I went to Korea with my sons, when my eldest was 2 years old, we went to a soft play and he was used to speaking English to all his friends and all the children. And
Yeah.
in the soft play, it was the first time he was speaking to another child in Korean. And or he heard them speaking Korean, and but he was speaking English, and it took some time for him to realize that some
Yeah.
children don't speak English. And yeah, so yeah, I'm curious to see how your daughter is going to react. But if you're already in contact with other children who speak Portuguese, maybe it will be a bit smoother.
Yeah. And I think at this point she also uses a lot of the first words that she knows that comes to mind. Sometimes it's Portuguese, sometimes it's Dutch. But I'll see, I guess, with time after we arrive there, then she's going to access more Portuguese. Let's see.
Yeah. That's a very exciting time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Yoshito, tell us
Yes,
about how you are going to, yes, foster the language in the home country. And which one are you going to visit this summer?
yeah. So, so for those of you who don't know me, we live in England, and my wife is Korean. I'm French, or I speak French with my sons. And this summer we're going to go to Korea. So it's a language that I don't speak very well. I speak a little bit. My sons speak a lot better. Uh, but yeah, recently they've started to speak a lot more in English to us, and it's really fluctuating, like depending on the time of the year or what happens. Sometimes they speak more French or more Korean or more English, but recently it's been a lot of English. Uh, so we're hoping that going to Korea is going to help them speak a bit more or getting again used to speaking in Korean uh, to their mom and to other people instead of speaking English. And yeah, so that's one big thing we want to do by going to Korea is to make them again at ease speaking their home languages with us. Because at the end, even if they do it, we can see that it's a lot easier for them to speak in English. But we're going to spend 5 weeks, so hopefully it's going to be long enough.
That's
Yeah,
long,
as a
yes.
teacher, I have long holidays.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so we take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And yes, so we're going to see the family because even if they see them quite often on the phone, it's not really the same. They spend like maybe 15 minutes or not even 15 minutes because they go and come. So they spend really a short amount of time uh, seeing their family on a daily basis. And but here we'll be living with them, so hopefully they be more surrounded with the language and they become more like speaking Korean more naturally. And the other thing to help to boost their language that we want to do is really to uh, get them to experience new things in Korean. So we're thinking of uh, like testing different clubs or lessons on things they like, but they don't really practice that much here. For example, my eldest loves insects and all the little tiny creatures and being in the nature. So we're hoping to find something that's going to go with that, that he can where he can speak with other children in Korean and learn more about these insects, etc. Or my youngest is really into Legos or building things, crafts, etc. So we're looking for that kind of club or lessons for him to experience that with other children. Um, because yeah, I feel like generally when they learn something through a language, so even when last year we went camping together, it was in England, but because we're speaking all the time in French, they were speaking a lot more in French. Because when they were talking about like lighting the fire or things like that, it was all coming in French. And I think it's because they experienced this through the French language. So we're hoping to leverage that as well. And like Annalisa said, when we go to the country, it's a good way a good opportunity to find games and books in the language. So we're going to go probably often to the local library and buy books as well to bring back to England. Yeah, to find books that they want to read so that they read a bit more, because we have loads of books in Korean, but now they're a bit older, so it's not necessarily the kind of books they like to read. So they read it from time to time, but not that much. And the last thing I want to do is, as I said, I don't really speak that much Korean. So I'm planning on going out, just me and my sons, to different places, so that they can see me trying to communicate with people with my limited amount of Korean, and using them as translators as well to boost their confidence. But also for them to see that you don't need to speak perfectly to express yourself. And it's something I really see in my students. So many have different languages at home, but many qualify, like they say that they don't really speak it, they just understand it, that they don't dare speaking. And I think that once they start fearing like communicating with others in their language, they start losing the ability to do that. And so I don't want my sons to start thinking, oh, I don't speak well enough Korean or French, so I'm just going to speak in English. Uh, and so hopefully, by being in that situation where they see me communicate with other people with my limited Korean, uh, it's going to help them see that it doesn't need to be perfect, to have some relationships with people and have fun, etc. Yeah, so these are the main plans at the moment, and we see
Yeah.
how things go over there if we have other opportunities as well.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I mean, we are all three in the situation, right? That we didn't visit family for a long time,
Yeah.
thanks to the situation we are in, and so we are really looking forward to connecting or reconnecting with family and friends, and also to give our children this experience to full immersion. So in my situation, as I said before, my children are 19, 16 and 16, and are using mostly English for the same reason that Yoshito mentioned. So their school language is English. So we will be spending our holidays in Germany and in Switzerland, and we are going to do a road trip. Otherwise, we would have to make so many stops. That's just better in the car. And this gives us then also the opportunity to experience the different landscape, right? So since my children were younger, we were trying to take the car in order for them to really feel, okay, the signs are different. The people, when you make stop on the way, they all of a sudden speak German or then Swiss German, and oh wow, it's French. How come? The French-speaking part of Switzerland. So we will be visiting families and friends in Germany and in Switzerland. And as they are older now and they read also the different languages, well, although Swiss German is not a written language, so it's rather being submersed into these local varieties of Swiss German in Lucerne, where the family is, and in other places that we are going to Bern, also where the cousins are. And then we are going to spend some time in the mountains, where then also two friends of my son will come and join us and spend a week with us. So they are planning to do some outings, so they for themselves also to travel by themselves. So they are doing organizing this, how to take a train, read the app, the local app, to get on the right train in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
And to get the ticket and everything, and to get also a guide, because my son is going to go with his friends. They're going on a glacier.
Oh, wow.
Doing a very nice hike that he was so looking forward to. And was waiting 2 years now to get there. So now
Yeah.
it's the time. So and the guide, of course, is local, and it's in the western part of Switzerland, of the Swiss German speaking part of Switzerland, and the variety is very. A variant of Swiss German there is very difficult for many Swiss German speakers. But it was funny to see 2 years ago when we went there for the last time that my children could understand them. They didn't have any problem. They said, "Oh, it's logical. I can understand." So I think that is a little bit the advantage of being multilingual. Let's just say
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
That's
So,
easily.
yes, and so they're looking forward to this. And this guide that is going to go with my son, because you shouldn't go on a glacier as someone coming from the Netherlands, from the lowlands. You need also to have a guide if you are actually Swiss, because it's always dangerous. But the guide speaks this local dialect and a little bit of English, so he will be the translator a bit between the guide and his friends. And my daughters are going to do horse trail, also in the mountains, with two friends from Luxembourg who understand a bit of the local dialect, but still. So they are going to be exposed, yes, to the local language or languages, but also to others. And I find it very nice because they can feel comfortable, like what they are used to do here at home, where they are immersed into a more international kind of environment, but also experience that they can make themselves understood, read everything, understand what they're reading in a context that is not the everyday one. So here we have everything in Dutch or in English, and there it will be in German or even in French in some parts that we are going to visit. So it is something I think very appealing, and I find very enriching for them to experience, and also for us. And I think you mentioned, who mentioned this? Annalisa, right? We want to also somehow experience being immersed into our language and just hearing everyone speaking that language. It feels like, yeah, somehow reassuring again. Although for me, it's not necessarily, for me, it would be Italian, but that's fine. I'm more or less in the same situation as Yoshito, although yeah, I speak a bit more Swiss
Currently.
German, I think. Yes,
Yeah.
but still, yeah, I might do a little trip to Italy. Me,
Ah,
me,
that's
myself, and I.
nice.
I hope. No, but I'm kidding. But anyway, yes. So that are a little bit our plans, and then of course also this letting them go by themselves, knowing that they can move around and make themselves understood in the shops or wherever they are, at the train station or on the street with people, with neighbors. That is something that we built during the past years, that we were constantly, every year, apart, 2020 and 21, always visiting Switzerland and Germany for this reason. So like many multilingual families do, right? So
Your, for your children, do you feel like this long time where you couldn't really travel has impacted your children's fluency, or I don't know, the development of their languages?
maybe for Swiss German, yes, but we were, because Swiss German is somehow an additional language that we speak at home, and the main language is German, and then English and Dutch on a regular basis. But still, I mean, I think it has impacted them a bit, but in the positive sense also, because when we were all at home and studying and working from home, their exposure was much more in our home languages. So I
Yeah.
think it's an interesting balance. I think Annalisa, there is a lady who is woken up, but yeah. So what do you think about your sons, Yoshito?
So for the languages, I think the lockdown has taken them out of the norm that they can also speak with other people in their home languages. Because, so for example, my mom is the one they see the most because she lives in France and it's easier to see her. Uh, but during the lockdown, so they didn't see her for 2 years, like face to face. They were chatting with her on the phone, but that was it. And but I could see that when she came, they were really happy and they spoke like 100% in French all the time. Uh, and so I can see that there is a big impact on it. But because there was 2 years, I think they came out of the fact that it's normal to speak to other people in French or Korean. And so hopefully going to Korea is going to help with that.
Yeah.
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 And I
Sorry.
was thinking, that what you're doing with your children, that to let them go on their own, do their own things, I think it's quite empowering. But I was wondering from how old you started doing that.
Well, all by themselves, only when I was sure that they could find the way and they could
Yeah.
make themselves understood. But we started, for example, something that my sister-in-law did very early on. She would just grab our children and say, "Okay, we're going on a geo hunt. These kind of treasure hunts that you can do."
Where you have to locate
Yes.
yourself. Yeah.
Exactly, and we met once in Lugano. That's the southern part of Switzerland, where it's Italian. It's a language that's spoken, and then they went around together. So in a way that they got used to walk around the streets with another person that they saw maybe only once a year, but we had FaceTimes, or she came over to visit sometimes, but not us parents, right? Of course, it always depends on how much you can involve family or friends. So we couldn't do this very often, but I would send them, for example, just down the street, go and fetch some bread, for example, or you go and ask the waiter if we can pay the bill, or little things, right? So to build it up slowly. But of course, I wouldn't send them into a place where they didn't know how to come back. I always said, you always have to know how to come back. No, seriously, because yes, it's I think how you want to stay safe and keep the children safe, but also see how far or what they want to do. If, for example, also when they were 12 or 13 and they don't feel really comfortable in doing anything or taking any initiative, then I leave them do that. But now they were so looking forward that they were already in November, they were looking for what can we do? I want to go with a horse. Is there a horse track? Or is there, I want to go on the glacier. What can we do? How can we organize this? And the friends coming over, they don't come with us from here, but they are going to come by plane. And then my son picks them up from Zurich and brings them up where we go. So he needs to know which buses and trains to take and where to look out for all kind of situations. But I mean, he's 19, he can do this. But of course, it's another country, another language. But he understands it and he speaks it also. So that's a big help.
So,
Yeah, but he's then responsible for the other two, or he feels responsible. He's not, because they are they are living abroad as well. So it's not.
Can I ask the two of you, for example, this is my first time going home with my daughter, and she's only 2. But I'm really curious to see and to hear what is your experience when you come back? What kind of change or what kind of improvement or relationship with the language? What is the impact of that on your children?
When you come back from,
when you come.
You want to start or?
No, it's good. You can.
Okay. So for my sons, I feel like when they come back, they want to carry on doing things in the language. So for example, if it's cartoon that they've learned about in Korea, they want to carry on watching these cartoons, or they speak together in the language. And I don't know if it's going to be the same now because they're so used to speaking English. But before, it was really, sometimes they would speak in French, sometimes in Korean, sometimes in English. So it was a bit more balanced. But when we came back from France, it was a lot of French together. When we came back from Korea, it was a lot of Korean together. And then it becomes again like English is the main language they use. But yeah, and this time, because they use English so much now together, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. but maybe because your daughter is 2, she's going to be kind of speaking a lot more in Portuguese, but she probably speaks already just Portuguese to you, or is it a mix?
To
Or
me, yes, yeah.
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 So yeah, I guess yeah, they want to carry on the experience by speaking as well. At least for my sons, that's what I've observed.
Yes, and it's I observed much. We never went away for more than 3-4 weeks maximum. So, and as we have two countries to visit, then it was maybe a week in one and then 2 in the other one, or maybe also a bit of time in Italy or in the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland, which is an additional language even. So I can't say that when we came back there was a big difference. It was in terms of them feeling more like belonging to those places, because we were visiting the friends and the family that they know. It's family, it's the friends that we see that come and visit us over here as well. So I think it was more that bond that made them feel at ease and more comfortable and more conscious also about the languages that we share with them. Although I must say, yes, it was funny once when we went to Switzerland, and then the children of some friends of ours said, "Oh, our children just started learning English. You could speak English together." And I said, "No, just no." we took that long ride to come here, and you say the same thing. No, so we said, I talked with the parents, and we said, oh no, we agreed that they should speak Swiss German or German or whatever other language that was comfortable, but not English too much. But then in the end, you can just ask something and the children do something completely different. So they were, of course, very very proud, and why not, to be able to speak English and to help their friends. But the friends also then told them or shared with them books or things that they were listening to. So it was more or less balanced, but we could not just say it's full immersion into a monolingual kind of setting, because, well, especially when visiting a country like Switzerland, where there are so many, not only tourists, but also the locals speak different languages, then it's a tiny bit of a sense of, yes, they speak that language, but never as much as if we would maybe go to a place in Switzerland where really everyone is only speaking Swiss German, which we didn't do. And but that's fine. So I don't know
It's
if
great
this
to
answers.
cover all the languages,
Yeah, a
whether
bit.
they are additional languages or those that are more fluent in.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I think it's more what I want them to give my children is the feeling for belonging to that country, that these are people that you feel at home, or that you feel that you belong. Because when we grow up abroad, we often say, well, I don't belong here, I don't belong there. But in the end, you belong a little bit here, a little bit there. So you can choose, and you can say, okay, I prefer now being in Switzerland and feeling like I belong there, or I like to belong more in the Netherlands, where I'm living now, or wherever they are. So exploring these facets is for me also a very important part of it all. Because like we think of multilinguals not being a set of monolinguals in one, but it's a mixture. And this mixture, at some point, I think it's difficult to separate these languages. And I didn't even try to, also because I don't for myself. But I fully understand that when they are younger, like Annalisa, you've been now 2 years since she was born, in a context where she didn't experience this, that people, you walk out of the house and everyone speaks mommy's language. And this will be amazing, I think.
Yes,
I would like
think
to
so.
know how she reacts about that.
I am really curious to watch that, to see that happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. I would like to just welcome everyone who is following us live. I see that there are some on the different channels. And please ask your questions in the chat, or let us know how you are planning to spend your holidays in your language or with your language, whether you are going to visit the country or countries or not. I would also like to let you know, or to remind you, that our ebooks are available for free today on the 2nd of July 2022. You can access them with the QR code or through the links that we have in the description. But let's see if someone has some questions at some point, or do we have other questions that we can ask? So what pause, and then you have my idea that I said, Yoshito, you mentioned that you are going to spend some time with your sons so that they can see you in action and maybe struggling a little bit with Korean. I find this an amazing idea. It's very encouraging, and it will boost their confidence and their pride also to pass on their language to you, which comes through your wife.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
amazing.
aim, yeah. Because I've done that already before, but they were still young, so I don't think they really understood. They just thought, okay, daddy doesn't really speak well, but that was it. But now that they're older, I hope it's going to have a bigger impact. And yeah, because for example, when my second son was born, so he was born in Korea, and my eldest was 2. So my wife was staying a lot at home with the baby, and I was going everywhere with my eldest, and I could speak even less Korean at that time, but I would go to like different play areas, and well, everything was organized by my wife. But I would go, and for example, if there were lessons, because it's for children, you can understand from the context, and for the few words you understand, you can work out what they need to do. And I would tell my son, and yeah, so it's not something new. I've been doing that for since the beginning. But I like this challenge to try to communicate with people with a limited amount of words. Um, and yeah, it's also like when we learn languages, that's the way it works. And I don't know, maybe it's going to help them see that learning language is not difficult, like even when they're going to be learning foreign languages.
But I think the most important is being that example of a multilingual person, right? Learning a language, using a language, trying, and that making mistakes is okay, and that if you're not fluent, you can try, you can communicate. So on top of being the minority language or your home language provider or example to your children, you can also be an example of a multilingual person, right? And that's amazing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We have one question from Tetsu. Hi, Tetsu. Nice to see you on the chat. What were the reactions of your kids when you announced that you are going to your home countries? So who wants to start?
Well, I can start. But of course, she's 2, and she didn't really react or understand when I said we were going to Brazil, but it's been a process. And she knows that she's going to Brazil on an airplane to see grandma and grandpa and her godmother. So now and then she repeats that she's going on a plane and she's going to see grandma, grandpa in Brazil. So it's been really fun and really interesting to see that.
Yes.
My son also very excited to go to Korea because it's been so long, and they have just fond memories of how it was to spend the holidays over there. So yeah, they're all really happy.
Yeah.
Yes, and mine too. I mean, they are old enough that they could even go on holidays alone, but they decided, okay, we're going to stay with mommy and daddy because they can do more things on their own. They can be more independent, so it's not that they're constantly with us. So we enjoy a little bit of time, but they were very, very much looking forward to it. And also, I think also because it's now actually since the pandemic started, we invited their friends over to spend some holidays with us, whether it was here in the Netherlands, and they were on the water the whole time. So it was very, very nice to experience this with their friends that they usually only saw at school or here in the surroundings, or even ex-friends that now, no, still friends, but they live abroad, so they could meet during the holidays with us. And we're doing this again. with two friends of my son, and then the two other children or young people, teenagers from Luxembourg. They met them in the same place 3 years ago. So it will be again something where they are looking forward to spend with peers. So I think that is something that is more appealing to them as being teenagers than all the rest. But of course also the change of scenery, the change of culture, of food, of celebrations, of anything, and seeing their dear ones as well. That's a major factor that made them very, very much looking forward to it. And really, like I said before, planning it since November. So it's great. Yeah. So I imagine that also Tetsu, when his children go back to Japan, they were also looking forward to it when they announced it. Yeah, great. If there is any other question, please just ask your questions in the chat. We're very happy to share it and to talk about this. So please keep the conversation going.
One thing I can share is something that I used to do as a child, but I can't do at the moment with my children is, so in France, we finish school around end of June, beginning of July. But in Japan, it ends end of July. So generally, when I was going to Japan, I would spend like a few weeks in a Japanese school. And I really loved the experience of going, like, seeing a completely different school system and how everything was going, because they learn different subjects as well in Japan than France. So for example, in France, there is no cooking lesson or sewing lessons, etc. But in Japan, there is. And I really liked the fact that they were doing that. Uh, Even music lessons, I didn't have any music lesson when I was in primary school, but in Japan, it's normal. And the fact that they were wearing uniforms in Japan, not in France, there were loads of differences. And I really like seeing these differences, experiencing them, and making new friends with Japanese children. But here in England, because we finish end of July, and in Korea it's roughly the same, we can't really do that. So it's a shame, but that's why we try to put them in clubs or different lessons so that they can see other children and interact with them as well.
Yes, I think also especially because you stay a bit longer, right? If someone is visiting maybe for a week or two, I mean, this was our situation. It was almost, going from one friend to the next and to the next family member, etc. It was really like a road trip or a family hopping, or I don't know, friends, family hopping kind of holiday. When you come home, you're completely knocked out. But it's enriching, but it's not giving the children really this feeling of what it would mean to go to school there, or to have an everyday kind of life experience, which now we are trying to do, or where I think now that they are more fluent and they can move around freely, they can have this feeling as teenagers now.
Yeah.
But I wish we would have had this opportunity as well. And I know that Tetsu does this with his children. So it's something that is amazing if you can do this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's an idea I want to try in the future.
Yes, some daycare or in primary school, but it's true. It's a bit difficult if the schools are finishing in the same kind of period, unless you get a consent from school to leave earlier for that reason. Sometimes it's possible, depending on the age group of the children. So it's, I think, worth to see if that's possible for your child where you're living. We would need to know from Tetsu how he's doing this. I never asked him, but
I think so his children go 3 months. So Tetsu, if you see that, you can confirm. But I think they go 3 months in a school in Japan.
Yeah.
And when they go to Taiwan, it's not school because there is no school anymore, but I think they go to different things.
Activities or actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, he will tell us maybe in the chat. But maybe if there's anyone else who would like to ask a question or tell us where you're going to spend your holidays and how you're going to foster your languages. But well, Of course, it's a little bit different. We mentioned that you both mentioned that you are going to come back with a stock of books or
Yes.
resources, which is always great. I had sometimes a whole bag only for the books. Yeah, and that's amazing when we can do this, or other resources that we can gather, and yeah, experience maybe some theater or music events in the summer if it's the summer that you, yeah, that the children can experience that. That's amazing too. Yeah. Oh, okay. Tetsu is adding, they have Japanese citizenship, so they have the rights to go to school in Japan, public school. Okay, yes, this is something. Yes, and I would need to see. Well, now it's a little bit late, especially for my son, but having the Swiss citizenship, if he has the right to just jump in and go to school, right to go to school, and you have to sign them up. And okay, maybe we can make one talk about this.
Yeah, it might be an interesting thing for many families to do,
Yes.
if possible. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But another thing, as we are talking about families, right? It's not only about the children. How are you going to foster your language? I mean, maintaining our languages abroad is more easy maybe if we read and if we watch movies, etc. But it's a whole other thing if we are in the country, right? So
Yeah. I guess just immersing myself as well again. My family always comments that my accent has changed. So when I get there, it comes back. So just getting acquainted again with the culture, with the references, with the way to speak, that all comes back in a few days. And another interesting part of the trip as well is that my partner also speaks Portuguese, but not on a regular basis. And when he goes there, he also tries his very best to speak to my family, because my whole family is monolingual. They don't speak any other language. So he has to communicate with them in Portuguese. And I think it's something else that Alba, that my daughter is going to pay attention to. Oh, Dad also speaks this language. He's also trying.
yes. But maybe she's going to make, okay, Daddy needs to take the airplane for a long time in order to speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
The geographical distance might be having some impact. And what about you, Yoshito?
So for me, I think in the past year, I've realized that I'm really losing not really, but I'm losing quite a lot of French because I have French colleagues, and I teach French, but teaching French, you just teach like basic things. But with my French colleagues, because we always mix French and English, and we're used to speaking that way, when I go back to France, it's really difficult to try to remember how to say this and that. And I feel that sometimes I sound like if I am just translating the English way of saying things into French. And and I know that my English is not perfect, and I know that sometimes I'm translating things from French to English, so I don't have any language anymore. But
oh no, you have them all. You have them all. It's just it's
but
your
yeah,
language.
it takes some effort to try to speak in just one language now.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I feel the same. And sometimes I'm convinced I'm really speaking then German, and then I introduce some kind or insert a word and say, yeah, it's not working. Why are they looking at me like that? It works for me. I understand. So why don't you understand? Oh, yes, it's the other word. Or especially between German and then Swiss German that are very similar, but then they have different kind of words for things. And then I just don't make the switch, because when I speak with my husband and we speak a little bit of Swiss German and then a German, we mix it and we just understand. I mean, the main thing is to understand the communication. But then if there is another person and they look at you like, what's happening? Or what happened to me very often at the beginning, I don't know, maybe I had a baby brain when my children were younger. the first times that I came to, I spent time in Switzerland, and Swiss German and Dutch are very similar with some sounds. And I really started a sentence in Swiss German and finished it in Dutch. And they were looking at me like, what are you doing? What are you saying? I don't understand half of your sentence. And I didn't realize it unless someone was looking at me like that. But I hope, yeah, fortunately, it doesn't happen to me anymore. But these are some strange things where you just don't realize that the switch is happening, even though you try to pay more attention. So I think it's very tiring, right, to get used to that other language only in that context, to pay attention to the new jokes and to the slang or whatever is used. So I see that Tetsu added for Taiwan, so spending time in the home language for Taiwan. We have not been for 3 years, but when we go, we pay to go to summer schools. So they are having summer schools as well.
Yeah.
So in order for them to have this experience
It's really nice.
to have like an education in Chinese, that's very nice. Yes, I hope that it will be possible next year, Tetsu. Let's cross fingers, touch wood and everything, right? Because great. So we are going to make the most of our holidays and try to catch up on everything that is around it. But are you also preparing a little bit for this? I mean, the other day I was like, okay, we're watching the news in Dutch, and then I said, no, let's switch to the German channel. So I know what's going on there. I mean, I regularly watch it, but not so regularly like now while we're preparing to get there. Are you doing the same for yourself as well, Anneliese and Yoshito? Also, I don't know, just to know what is going on in the country and what is happening.
So for
Not
France,
really.
Not really? Okay.
Not really. I honestly haven't had the time
Yeah, that's another
and the
thing.
mind space. I'm just preparing for a long flight with a toddler.
Yes, the priority is that one. I understand. I fully understand. Yeah.
the good thing I think is when they're little, they want to walk around, so it helps you. Like you have to walk around as well, and your legs feel less heavy at the end of the day. It's a good thing as well.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Yoshito?
I don't look at the news in France in general, and I feel like I know more about England now than France. And when someone tells me that this is happening in France, I'm always shocked because I feel like oh, it has changed so much, and I speak like an old person. But yeah, because I've been living here for 12 years now, so it's been quite a long time since I left France. And like Uta, you said there is new slang, etc. And that I don't necessarily understand. So, for example, when I scroll through social media and I watch some comedian like making jokes, I don't always understand what they're saying, and it's still rare, but I can see that I'm not in contact with the French, like how French is spoken now. And but my wife is a lot more connected. Like she watches things in Korean online. She watches the news. So she's a lot more, she knows a lot more what's happening in Korea.
Yes, it is a bit, for me, it's a little bit also just to know and to have something to talk about with the family part of, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Fine. And then you talk about things, not to end up to talk about people that we never see and that we don't even know, these awkward situations that can happen if you haven't been in touch for a longer time. And then all of a sudden you spend hours and hours around the same table or talking about everything, just to have a little bit of an idea of what is going on where you are visiting. At least it helps me. It helped me also in the past, also with my in-laws and my sister-in-law, and when I know that what is going on on the political side of Switzerland and what kind of decisions need to be made, etc. So that I'm not completely the tourist, because otherwise I really felt like I'm like a tourist And it's something, I don't know, I like the feeling of being a tourist, but not in a place where I've lived before. Somehow I want to have this kind of connection again, which is difficult, but maybe two things to know. I don't know, the latest movie, or I don't know, the latest gossip or whatever. I mean, everything can
the
make
popular music at the moment.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because then I find when I do this, and then I see my children come into the room and say, you're watching the thing. Oh, what's happening? Oh, why are they deciding that? And who is that one? Okay, this is that politician. This is that politician. So it gives them also the idea, okay, we can actually access this also if we are not in the country.
Yeah.
And if then we see the billboards or in the newspaper, that's the person. So you can recognize these people or you can understand the article in the newspaper that they're reading because they've heard it maybe in the news on the television or something like that. So it can help. But I mean, everyone, we can only do that much, and that's a lot already. But is it okay if I reshare maybe our offer that we have for today?
Good idea.
So the ebooks are both ebooks, so the 2 books for multilingual families that Annalisa and I have authored, and also the Parents' Guide to Raising Multiliterate Children that Yoshito has authored are available for free today on the 2nd of July 2022. So for those who are following us live or who are watching the recording.
And just to say, they're available on Amazon.
On Amazon, yes. Yes, these QR things are leading to Amazon, exactly. Yes. So what do you think?
I think people could be free to continue the conversation in the comments, even after watching it later or on our social media. We have posted about it on our few channels, and we're always happy to answer questions, to read experiences, and to continue the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even if we are on holidays, we are going to look at this conversation going on.
Yeah, we will also let everybody know how everything is going on the holiday.
Yes, let's share. And Yoshito, would you like to say something to those who are following?
To say thank you for everyone who was watching or who is going to be watching. And to enjoy your holidays and do the most you can with it. Spend time with your family and.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I say again what also Annalisa said, share your questions in the comments. We are going to continue the conversation there. And what we always say is have fun with your languages.
Have fun with your languages.
Yes. And see you very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching.